Laboratorija za društveni dizajn umjetnika i inovatora Daana Roosegaardea spaja ljude i tehnologiju. Roosegaarde u svom studiju s timom inženjera i dizajnera kreira primijenjene instalacije koje poboljšavaju život čovjeka i gradsko okruženje. Svjetlost je jezik kojim govore, te Van Gogh putanja osvjetljava biciklistima noćne staze. Waterlicht manifestuje virtuelnu poplavu kako bi pokazao moć vode. Spark predstavlja organski vatromet koji ne šteti životinjama i okolini, dok Grow spaja tehnologiju i agrikulturu, gdje tehnički dizajnirana svjetlost pospješuje rast i otpornost biljaka. Za Al Jazeera govori o primijenjenoj kreativnosti kao našem jedinom kapitalu i najboljem odgovoru za stvaranje budućnosti, a nju vidi kao protopiju, aktivno i svakodnevno dobro koje posljedično stvara i lijepu budućnost.
Dan, welcome to the program of Al Jazeera Balkans.
Hi. Yeah.
So you're a designer, an innovator, an artist, an architect. We cannot really put you in the box. So how do you describe yourself?
I don't. I don't define, I just explore. I think that's more interesting.
What areas do you explore?
The future. Yeah, so I'm a trained artist, trained architect. But I think in an ever-changing world, all these definitions are not really helping us anymore that much. So it's more about finding new combinations, new connections between those disciplines to make something that is future-proof.
But you're also a child of scientists. So is this the reason why your artwork is very useful and very applicable in real life?
Well, I mean, I just love thinking in proposals instead of opinions, right? So you look outside to the world, and it's just very confusing in a way. We have traffic jams, air pollution, rising sea level, COVID, and so a lot of people, I think, are getting very confused about that future. But should we just be scared, hide, wait, complain, blame somebody else? Or should we think, how can we engineer, how can we prototype, how can we design our better future? So yeah, science is a great tool in order to make those dreams happen. But in the end, it's about creating your own world, your own reality. Because a lot of problems we're facing are man-made, right? So we can engineer, we can design our way out of it. I think that's sort of the drive of everything that I do. Yeah.
So you get actually the ideas from the issues that humanity is facing.
Sure. I mean, you create to make sense of the world for yourself, to somehow have a better relationship with it. But there's also a we in it. That you're like, hey, why don't we have clean air parks? Or why don't we have highways that charge at daytime and glow at night? Or why don't we have firework that is not making all the dogs go crazy because of the noise and the pollution? So it's really trying to sort of be irritated maybe or wondered by the world, and then trying to drag it into a concrete proposal. And technology and science are just incredibly great tools in order to make them happen.
Mm. One of the most recent project actually of yours is fireflies in Bali.
Yeah.
Why fireflies and why Bali?
Well, light is my language, right? So and they're magical creatures. They use light to communicate with each other. The female and the male, the blinking, that's how they find each other, that's how they mate, that's how they reproduce. So without light, they're lost. 20 years ago, they were everywhere in Indonesia. Now all wiped out because of pesticide, because of light pollution. And I think they're part of the cultural heritage of the country, first of all. But even more than that, they're sort of gatekeepers. When you see them, you know the environment has clean air, clean water, clean energy, and it's sort of safe for them, but also for us as humans. But when they're not there, you're like, ugh, we have some problems to tackle.
Environmental problems.
And environmental problems, and so we're bringing them back. We're creating a habitat which is good for them. We're growing the larvae. Larvae takes 9 to 12 months. Firefly only lives for 22 days. So it's a lot of time, a lot of effort. But they're magical creatures, and I think just looking at them makes me happy. So what you're doing is creating an environment which has clean air, clean water, specific plants, no light pollution. And I started with a simple one in the area where I live, asking all the neighbors to switch off the lights, filtering the water, filtering the air. And then a couple of beautiful, crazy billionaires who are designing and building a 45-hectare eco-city called Nuanu heard about it. They remembered them from their childhood, and they said, can you work with us to build the largest one in the world? And So now it becomes a project. Yeah.
So we do have humans with means to make a future better place.
They're rare, but they're definitely leaders who are willing to invest in new ideas and understanding that you know, clean air, clean water, those are our future values. If we don't have that, yeah, what do we got? You're not future-proof. And the Firefly is sort of like an ambassador, if you may say, for that. So it's beautiful to sort of bring them back, grow them. It takes a lot of time. And I like, for myself as a designer, usually we design for people. Cities are designed for people. But now we're actually trying to figure out, what do they want? So you're trying to look through the world, through the eyes of a firefly, instead of through people. So you're designing for them, not for us. And that's a really interesting
consequently
perspective.
For us as well.
In the end, yeah. But you're basically spending the whole day figuring out what do they want, what makes them happy. And that's something different than us human beings.
If I'm not wrong, the main reason why we have less fireflies is light pollution.
Yeah, light pollution and pesticide.
And pesticide.
So what you should see is they use light to communicate. So when there's a lot of light pollution, they communicate, but they're lost.
Yes.
They're lost in light. So imagine you're being a firefly, blinking, surrounded in this haze of ugly neon light pollution.
Disturbances.
You just get lost.
Yes. But is this the reason why you...
That's a sad beginning of a movie, right? Lost in light. Yeah.
Lost in light.
Yeah.
Is this the reason why you started the project Seeing Stars?
For sure. Yeah, I think especially in the time of a lack of biodiversity and a lack of energy crisis, it's beautiful to sort of show that we can do more with less, right? And normally when we talk about celebration, we're like more and bam, 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 bam. But during COVID time, when people were, you know, a bit isolated and in their own bubble, I thought, what if for one night we just switch off all the lights? And that's a very simple idea, incredibly complicated to execute.
Incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
How did you manage?
Because the mayor had to approve, of course, and safety check, and tens of thousands of citizens switched off the lights, the entrepreneurs switched off the billboards, and the police and the fire brigade was involved, of course, to check everything. But we've done it now in 2 cities, and after 10, 12 months preparation, standing there in the evening and seeing all the lights switch off, we literally saw parts of the Milky Way in our own street, in a high-density urban city like Leiden, which is one of the most light-polluted cities in the world, right? And it was so beautiful to sort of, by removing, you started to reveal. And it was also interesting for me as the artist, as a designer. I mean, I didn't design those stars, right? They've been there for millions of years, that's very clear. But to sort of create a context where people say, hey, we can do more with less. And by reducing, you start to reveal and you start to feel a sort of connection with yourself, with each other, with the sky. But it was a really beautiful experience.
How did you communicate this to the community? How did you manage to have whole community on your side, including authorities, which are not quite open maybe for experimental projects?
Well, I think there is an intrinsic desire for people to celebrate and to somehow feel connected with each other, being part of a community, and to sort of show that in an energy crisis time, in a lack of biodiversity, in a time where we couldn't travel that much, we can do this together, was a very positive and very optimistical story. And you're right, it's just started as an idea that I would share with friends and everything. Yeah, okay, that's a nice idea. But then one morning I woke up and I realized, no, I really want to do this. So I started calling some people and I asked, I need a mayor who helps me to switch off all the lights. And they're like, why? To bring back the stars. And I was like, okay. And again, you have to find the leaders, the early pioneers who say yes. And now we've proven that it can be done, the effect is there, the safety is okayed, is approved. And now we have cities all around the world calling us, like, hey, how did you do that? And
yeah, once it's possible, everybody wants
But in the beginning, everybody says, not possible, not allowed. And in the end, they say, oh, you should do that every month. You know, why haven't you done it before? I love seeing stars because it's bringing back nature into our daily life. It's a collaboration with UNESCO, which says that everybody has a right to see the stars, right? Usually a building is heritage, but maybe seeing the stars should be universal heritage as well, yeah. And you know, right now 83% of the world population doesn't see the stars anymore. Crazy, when did we say yes to that? So when we talk about a smart city or a better city, it's not just the self-driving cars or the sensors or carbon neutral also, but it's also about seeing the stars every month or every year together and doing it together. I think that's really important. It's not just about me saying whatever. It's about making
a community work.
Yeah, enable people to be part of something that is bigger than just themselves. And I think we really underestimate that power of people. Once you plug into that, once you trigger that people are not just consumers, but they're makers. So they can make proposals, they can make something together. That's your new energy, and it's amazing what you can achieve then. And somehow society rarely addresses us like that, right? We can buy, we can give opinions, but we're rarely challenged to think into proposals. And so I think the beauty of seeing stars is bringing back the stars, but it's also people doing it together. It just shows a glimpse of the power community has. Yeah.
There is also one more thing that you brought to community, and that is waterlicht.
Yeah.
So what is it about waterlicht? Why is it so important?
Well, I think, we all know our world is changing, climate change, and we have to change, and we don't like to change because change is uncomfortable, and as human beings, we're not really happy about it, right? And so we try to hold on to what we know, which is maybe already gone. And rising sea level and the way our climate is changing is a part of that. And so a lot of people are frustrated or mad or anxious, which is normal. But I think part of it is that it's very abstract. If I would tell you sea level on an average is rising 2.5 meters before the year 2100, it's like boring, right? Numbers. Yeah, numbers don't help us to create change, right? Like that's somehow our brain doesn't work like that.
So what does help?
An experience. So once you see, and that's what waterlicht does, a combination of LEDs and lenses, you see how high water level could rise. It's like, on one hand it's a bit like, is this our future? But on the other hand it's also very hopeful because it's not reality yet. So people are encouraged to think, hey, what can my role be to make that better future? I love the piece because everybody starts to whisper when they're underneath it. It's very dreamy. It's always open for public. People don't have to buy a ticket. So it's sort of accessible for everyone. And it inspires people to be more engaged with a better future instead of just,
So we need to visualize the issue in order to have a better insight.
Well, I think an experience helps you to change, right? When you see it, when you feel it, it becomes a part of your thinking, of your doing. You can share it, you can bring your friends or your family, you can discuss it. So yeah, I think there's not a lack of money or technology in this world. Not even solutions, but there's more a lack of imagination of how we want that better world to look like. And yeah, so if you visualize, if you drag it into an experience, that's a great way to make people feel part of the solution, not just part of the problem. Yeah. Or at least that's the reason why I'm doing these things. Yeah.
Yes. And one of the solutions for fireworks is sparks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, Spark is our recent work. It started in a way with my students. I'm a design professor who said our future is frozen, right? So we're inheriting all the global challenges. We're not getting the toolkit to fix it. And even the celebration, even the firework is banned. Sometimes for good reasons, because traditional firework, all the dogs go crazy. 10 times increase in air pollution, huge mass damage to the eyes and people and buildings, etc. But is that our future? Just ban everything? No, that's also not good, I think.
So you found an alternative?
Yeah, and so I started to think, like, can we keep the tradition but modernize it? And after 2 months actually doing tests here in the studio with the engineers, with the prototypes, we started to make biodegradable sparks, sort of bubbles, sort of floatables that are in the air, reflect and absorb light, creating these huge clouds of floating light. And I love it because it's silent, it's biodegradable, it's sort of like a campfire you can look at and look and share and share stories, and that's what people do around a campfire. And we did the first one in Bilbao, then London, we're going Jordan today, Melbourne. So it's a beautiful example of showing the beauty of a more sustainable future and keeping those traditions that we have, but you need to modernize them, you need to upgrade them. Yeah.
You also modernized plants.
Agriculture.
Yes.
Yeah, the grow piece. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
so that's the project Grow.
Yeah, that's Grow. It started with a conversation on one of the largest agriculture banks in the world, the Rabobank, where the CEO sort of challenged me. Like normally, art collection, they purchase an artwork and they hang it in their lobby, and it's nice and fancy. But this CEO wanted something different, and he said, "I want you to think with me to talk about the future of food and the future of agriculture." And I love that, so he sort of challenged me. And so I'm a city boy, right? I have no idea what's the difference between a leek and a carrot normally, you know, So
but you learned.
I learned, yes. I was an amateur trying to become an expert. And so we started to visit the fields that feed us, which are huge, which nobody ever noticed except for the farmers, right? And we started to play with light and light recipes, red, blue, UV, to help the crops grow better. So on one hand, it highlights the places that feed us, to give them the attention and the love they need. But it's also a platform for science where we show the power of light can help crops to grow more sustainably and better, or reduce the use of pesticide.
So the final results were?
20,000 square meter field of leek, where we use red and blue to help the crops continue to grow when the sun goes down, where UV could be used to activate the defense system of the crops to reduce the use of pesticide up to 50%. But most of all, it was, I think, it is a place of wonder and just, you know, looking into the eyes of the farmer, who in the beginning was a bit skeptical, you know, what are all these city boys and girls doing in my field? But in the evening he came back and he couldn't stop staring at his own crops, you know. So it's about changing a perspective of what reality could be. I think if we would have this interview 500 years ago, you and I would have been 100% convinced the Earth was the center of the universe, right? And we really like that idea. And all the planets and the sun and the moon would turn around us. And then three really smart guys, Galileo, Copernicus, and later Kepler, came and said, "You're living in a lie, right? Earth is turning around the sun 148 million kilometers away from us." And people at that time really didn't like that, right? Like I think Galileo was like banned for house arrest for life, just because he had an idea. Now we know it's true, right? So I think we live in a world today where we have to change our perception again. We cannot control nature. We have to learn from it. We have to live from it. And using science and using creativity, because that's our true capital as human beings, to make that better environment.
So creativity and art should become one of the main elements of urban design and urban planning and agro-planning.
I mean, it's the thing that separates us from the machines. I mean, I look at the AI, at the Mid-Journey, the image generation, or the OpenAI chat, which is remarkably well and remarkably fast and smart, and it's just mind-blowing. But does that mean that you and I, as humans, become robot food? No. It just means our human skills, our desire to learn, to challenge, to propose, to be creative, those are our future values, but because that's something the machines are quite bad at yet.
They can just augment the human abilities.
Exactly. And so if you want to be future-proof, you have to realize that creativity is your true capital. And that's really important. And it doesn't mean everybody becomes an artist. Well, they can if they want to. But to challenge, to wonder, to propose, because basically that's what we're doing. We're just a proposal machine here. We're like, hey, look, we can make bicycle paths that charge at daytime and glow at night. Look, we can make organic firework. Look, we can bring the stars back. And what I hope and what I see happening is that people get used to the idea and then adopt it and that it grows. You know, like a good idea inspires, but a great idea activates and makes people want more. Yeah. Yeah.
Is this what we've been talking about? Is this schoonheid? Correct me if I'm...
Horrible Dutch word, yeah. Unpronounceable for
but
schoonheid.
It is schoonheid.
Schoonheid, yeah. If it hurts, you're pronouncing it right. Like
okay.
I'll
leave it to you. So what is the concept behind this?
Well,
it is your philosophy.
Well, schoonheid is a really beautiful Dutch word because it has two meanings. It means like beauty. You see something you don't really understand, but you want to feel a part of it. So I think we should use beauty as a strategy for people to help to accept change. That's first of all. But it also means like cleanness, like clarity, clean air, clean water, clean energy. And so if you say schoonheid, should be the drive of everything we do when we design a car or a city or a fashion or waste management or whatever. Then you're future-proof. Yeah. And I think we live in a world where once those values are embedded in our decision-making process, we'll create a world where people and technology and people and nature finds a new harmony.
Aligned.
Yeah, aligned. And because the way of existing linear thinking will not help us to solve the challenges we're facing. It's just our perception is wrong. So we're sort of stuck, right? And everybody feels that. And that's okay, but it just means we have to, like 500 years ago, change our perception. And once you change your perception, everything changes. It started a simple example where we built these huge smog vacuum cleaners, these smog-free towers, to suck up polluted air, cleaning it and making these clean air parks. But then we realized that the residue, the incredibly disgusting smog particles, we had buckets of them standing in our studio, and realized we should do something with them. Waste should not exist. 42%, 48% is carbon inside of it. Carbon under high pressure, you get diamonds, right? And so we started to compress it and making smog-free rings, durally. And the jewelry that was sold, a Kickstarter campaign, helped us to fund more towers. So the waste actually became the enabler, the activator, and it was just a beautiful way of showing how new connections, how creative thinking can push new ideas and can show the beauty of clean air and make it grow. Yeah.
We have various pollutions. You mentioned one. How do you see cities and their resilience to these pollutions?
Well, right now, a lot of cities are sort of machines that are harming us, right? They're not particularly nice in a way. And I think when we talk about the future of the city, in the end, it's about human well-being, right? It's a place where we should be challenged. It should enhance us. We should be our body. Clean air, clean water, clean energy. But that's most of all a design challenge, right? Why do we have streetlights burning the whole night when nobody's there, right?
Yes, also mobility.
Yeah, and exactly. So it's sort of, we just have to sort of reconfigure, reconnect certain elements. But most of all, we need to have a plan, and we need to have a vision. And if Europe sometimes is missing anything, it's not money, it's not rules, it's not technology. It's a dream, it's a vision, it's a plan. That's the beauty of an idea. An idea brings you to a place you've never been before. But if you don't invest in new ideas, you die, right? And so Europe, I love Europe, and I'm proud to be part of Europe. But at the same time, it sometimes feels like wind in a glass bottle, right? Which is not wind anymore. It's sort of stuck. And I hope, I'm not saying it's the solution, but I hope that the project that we've done sort of show what could be possible. And you see when we have a public opening, tens of thousands of people are coming and being interested and wanting to know more. And so there's a real hunger. We just have to start doing it more. Yeah.
And you said this is not utopia, this is protopia.
Yeah, utopia is like this perfect world that we'll never ever reach, you know, like a rainbow in the sky that you can never ever grasp. But you know, the history has proven that if you do that, if you focus too much on that, that's not very productive. But a protopia, I say, okay, nobody knows, right? Nobody knows how the future will look like. You don't know, I don't know. But what we do know is we have to invest in new ideas to survive. You know, it's not about beautification, it's about survival. And we have to try, and we have to learn, and we're going to make a mistake, and we're going to upgrade, and we're going to evolve from that. So protopia, prototype, is a part of that. And the projects that I'm sharing with you are sort of prototype proposals for that better world. And let's hope it's enough.
So just for the end, how are we to have this protopian mindset, having in mind that schools are still linearly based?
Well, I think there's an incredible power and creative capital in the minds of the new generation, and they're ready, you know, and they're willing to go. I think we should just enable them and allow them to spread those ideas and make them a reality.
And
so
what would be the ways?
Well, I think first of all we need to create an environment where people are not scared but curious. That's where it starts. Because when I do something new, I'm always scared. You know, there's always this little devil on your shoulder saying, oh, what if it goes wrong and they're going to make fun of you? But there's also a little angel saying, but what if it works? And it would be really awesome. And so the only thing I can do is say, okay, I define my decisions on curiosity, not on fear. And so we need to create an environment where people are curious, not scared. That's one. And then secondly, we have to try. We have to listen. We have to propose. We have to accept sometimes we're going to make a mistake, but we're going to learn from that and evolve. But most of all, yeah, we got to consider ourselves makers, creators. Yeah, that's the most important thing.
And just out of curiosity, what would be your next project?
Oh, there's a lot going on. I mean, I'm fascinated with the space waste, the 8.1 million kilo of space junk, which is currently floating around our universe, which is a big threat for our day-to-day communication, and nobody really knows yet how to fix it. I'm really interested in a way that, you know, can we make plants or trees glow instead of, you know, polluting street lights? So I'm really interested in sort of designing and creating a super nature that helps us more.
Something similar to Van Gogh path?
Yeah,
light emitting bicycle path.
Yeah, but even more organic. In a way, plants already glow, but for insects. That's how they find the pollinator, you know. That's so can we see the world through a butterfly or for a firefly and
to get more connected.
To get more connected. And again, this is how every project starts. It's a bit abstract, people are like, but I'll show you. Give me another year, and then it will be more. I think, you know, most of all, it's really important to show the beauty of that better world. Beauty helps us to accept change, and by showing that it's possible,
you see the benefits.
You see the benefits, and I think it will activate people to do more, not less.
Dan, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.